Praise the Lord. I'm Pastor Kevin Williams Jr.
And I'm First Lady Amara Burrell Williams.
We greet you in the name of Jesus Christ, and we invite you to watch our sermons and Bible studies that it may uplift you.
And please visit our website, GBWTALBION.org.
And remember, we love you in Jesus' name.
And since we have a few viewers in here, let's go ahead and get started. I'm not going to be before you for very long because you know me. I like to get in there, get it done, and let's get going. Don't worry, you're not going to be looking at my face the whole entire time. I do actually have the PowerPoint right here. If you can all see it. I don't know how well it's going to translate on phones or tablets, but let's give this a shot, shall we? As a nerd who loves technology, I am ready to go. So let's get this started. Increasing your credit score. Now, before we do this, we're going to go through a few definitions that you're going to need to know as we go through this. I am not trying to treat you like you're stupid. I'm not trying to treat you like you don't know anything. I'm just like, for anyone who needs to know something, this is just general information to make sure that we're all on the same page when I say these words. Okay? So credit, trust given from one person to another for future payment of a loan, credit balance, etc. If I can stop mumbling my words. Okay. Creditor, a person or company to whom a debt is owed. And bureaus, an office, government agency. We also have annual fee, a yearly charge to a credit card holder to take advantage of benefits or just for payments, period. Usually ranges from $25 to $500. APR, annual percentage rate, is the annual cost of borrowing money on a credit card. And there are several types of percentages, some good, some bad. And I'll try and go into that more later, but your APR can be for like having a balance. You can get interest rate in terms of doing a cash advance. There is a balance transfer. You can get APR for transferring any kind of purchase. I just said that, excuse me. You can get it for penalty or late fees. All that is there. So we're going to look into that. But more than anything, having a low APR is great, but 0% always going to be better. Because, you know, who wants to pay on anything or who wants to pay anything extra? And then lastly, due date, the minimum date in which a payment is due. So a credit score itself, to put it in general terms, is a number that helps a lender to predict how likely you are to pay back a credit or loan. And this number, this is a number that changes. How did I read that? And it changes as your credit report changes. There we go. And it has a broad use. And your bad credit past can be part of your bad credit future. So it's always a good idea to get your credit score up and working now. And I feel like this is especially important if we truly are going to get these stimulus checks, or if there is going to be a monthly stimulus check. Now is a great time to up your credit score and not only pay your bills, but pay your bills correctly so it's at a benefit for you. All right. And lastly, FICO scores are one of the most common, varying from 350 to 850. And we'll go into credit scores a little bit later. Now, it's best for lenders to use a credit score because it helps to figure out fairly if you're good enough to, if you're a good person to loan the money for. I can speak. I swear I can today. Excuse me. Give me a moment. Credit scores are consistent and objective, and it just pretty much reflects how good you are to pay back the money that has been loaned out to you. It's based on several different things, and I will also go into that more later, and that's how it balances out to figure it out. So knowing what bases your credit score and how to effectively how to effectively maneuver that into for you, it helps a better chance for you increasing your credit score and having lower payments on everything. So there are different ways to get your credit score and figure it out. You can do a hard credit score or a soft credit score. Now, a hard credit score is a hard inquiry, a hard search for your credit score. This is initiated by you with certain companies. It's initiated by you through a certain company, or a company does it themselves. So, i.e., you're looking for a car loan, you need a mortgage, certain student loans, certain credit cards. When they look into your credit card history, it sometimes with a hard credit score, it will give your credit a hit, and it will go down by a few points. And so let's see, how do I phrase this? If you're low on credit, this can be a hard hit for you. I mean, yeah, it only reflects for like the next year, and that's great. But if you're already pretty low on a credit score and you're trying to get a new car or trying to get a mortgage, it's going to hit you a little harder than if you had a better credit score. But a soft credit score, aka a soft inquiry, is checking the credit score for yourself, not through a service, and it's not going to take any points off your credit score. And you may already have a chance to do this through certain lenders and certain even credit card companies. You can check your FICO score through them, and it's not going to have any effect on your credit score, which, that's how we're looking forward to. But more than anything, there's usually just the 3 trusted bureaus. There are others, but there are 3 major ones that are usually check your credit score. Now, a few ways to help monitor your credit score is Credit Karma. I used to live or die by Credit Karma because, quite frankly, it's free. They have an app. They allow great for alerts. So let's say if you start a new account and you have an account with Credit Karma, it will give you alerts saying, "Oh, hey, you started a new credit," which is great. And especially if you want to debunk credit fraud, let's say like you didn't start a new account at Best Buy, like I didn't do that. Well, now it's your chance to quickly get in there and cancel that out. The only problem I have with Credit Karma, though, is that it uses an outdated credit scoring system. So that means that you may see a number, but your credit score may actually be higher than what it really is. So although it's good to use, definitely good for alerts, I would not stand by it 100%. The one that if you're willing to pay for it, which again, I'm all about free, but if you really feel the need to pay for something, I've seen that Privacy Guard is pretty decent. You can try it out for 14 days for $1. I did check that recently, and that offer still stands. If you're new to it, 14 days you can try it for $1. After that, it's a monthly subscription between $9.99 to $24.99, depending on what services you really need. You can do daily credit alerts. You can do soft credit pools from all 3 boroughs. It offers identity theft protection and much more. Sorry, I did not mean to leave that in there. When I was in person, I had handouts. So please feel free to ignore that. I also found out that if you would check with your local bank or whoever you have a checking account with, they also may have a chance for you to check your credit score for free. A quick and dirty list you can go through. Feel free to write these down. If you have an account with any of these banking companies, American Express, Bank of America, Citi, Huntington, through their app, or even if you ask them directly, they have a way to check your credit score for free there. And certain credit card issuers, credit card companies, you can check your credit score with them also for free. Now, when you make an account, you're not making an account with the company. You're just using the email and the password so you can go back and track your credit score. And some of those would be with Discover, which I did try myself. It was very good, which is with creditscorecard.com. Chase also has a chance to do that. And they have like this whole little, is the perfectly phrased, journey with it too. And they also give you tips and suggestions for how to raise your credit score, which where I learned a few things from them as well. And then there's also Capital One credit card company, where they also have another place where you can check your credit score. I'll pause for a moment. I mean, as you take a chance to take your notes, you should never have to pay to check for your credit score. You shouldn't have to. I offer the $1 one if you want to, but this is your credit score that you're trying to lift. So if we could stop get any more money out your pocket than we really need to, especially when times are this hard, let's do that, shall we? Moving on. Now, the 3 bureaus that track your credit card score are Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. They're often grouped together, but they are indeed 3 separate companies. And you can request a credit score report from each of these companies once a year. So for each one, you can get a free credit score. You just have to keep track. They also collect data in the following ways, i.e., they have to contact the bank, your credit card issuers. They report about your account, but not what's in your account, i.e., were you late on a payment? Is your account negative? Is your account always positive? Is your account always empty? It's kind of reflecting on that. It's not actually seeing the actual amount in there. That's a privacy thing. They're not supposed to be able to see that part. And sometimes they will buy the data from other bureaus to help generate a better credit card report. So if there's another bureau that's kind of been keeping track of how you spend it, they'll kind of buy off the data to help you get a better credit score. It sounds all creepy, but I swear it's all for the good in the end. And bureaus, excuse me, I got nervous for a second. Information shared between the bureaus. Sometimes they're required to cooperate with one another, especially in times where if your identity may have been stolen, they're going to have to connect with each other to confirm certain things like, oh, hey, did this happen? Nope, this happened. And it just kind of creates a checks and balance system to help get you in the clear, to help you get back what you may have been lost if someone has stolen your information. There are other, I just kind of put these as funsies for other credit bureaus you might want to know about, like the check system that collects closed checking account information. You have the National Consumer Telecom and Utilities. They collect and share information about, TV payments and utilities and so on and so forth. And fun things like Clue. And they can share information such as auto, property, and, personal property reports. There are so many of these. The list could go on, but it's all these wrapped together that really help to generate your credit score. So as I said before, to obtain your credit report, you can get 1 free copy from each of the 3. You can do that by going online to annualcreditreport.com. And it's the only authorized website that's actually free for those 3. Or if you're not really a tech-savvy person, you can call at 1-877-322-8228. You'll just have to be prepared to provide the following information, which is, of course, your name, your current address, your social security number, and date of birth. This phone number is directly correlated to the annualcreditreport.com. So either way, if you want your credit report, those 2 are interrelated. So if you want to do one or the other, that's how you can do it. Now, credit scoring with the Equifax credit score, the range is about 280 to 850. And they can also be used to calculate it through TransUnion, and also gives you the ability to compare. FICO credit score uses a numerical range from 300 to 850, where the higher scores kind of introduce a lower credit risk. Now, you have to think of your actual credit score as pretty much your grades. So, 800 plus is exceptional. Very good is 740 to 799. Just regular good is 670 to 739. Fair is 580 to 669. And 579 and below is considered poor credit score. But yeah, I did notice that you'll start to get a lot of doors open once you really hit 720. That's when you really start getting all of those annoying letters of like, hey, come join us. Come use our credit card. Hey, you're pre-approved. And I'll go more into that later. Don't trust those letters. That's how they trap you into stuff. But the more important thing is, I really want you guys to pay attention to this part. It is the 5 factors of your credit score. And that includes your payment history, your amounts owed, your length of your credit history, new credit, and types of new credit. And we're all going to go through this one by one together, okay? Payment history. is one of the bigger chunks and counts for the biggest part of your credit score. So basically just want to know, do you pay your bills on time? If you have you missed any payments? Do you stay current? Just be aware of paying off collection so they don't report it. And they're also going to be looking into your public records. Have you had bankruptcies? Have you had foreclosures? Did you go through any lawsuits? If you had late payments, they want to know how late was the payment, how much was owed, were you delinquent, how long did you stay delinquent? This is going to take up such a big section because they want to know that you're going to actually pay them back. It's equivalent of if Mimi came up to you, be like, hey, I want to borrow some funds. I was like, you want to borrow some funds? You ain't paid back Mike in years. How I know you're going to pay me back? Is essentially what the credit company is thinking. So do yourself a favor also, and don't pay off your bills too soon. I found out that can also risk lowering your credit score. So actually you have to let your statement and due date generate, because paying it off early before it generates, and then when it finally comes in on the due date, and you have to, and now say, oh, now you owe this, so now you're in the hole because you paid off beforehand, and now this other payment comes, you have to pay more on it. Now you've done yourself more harm than actual good. So just remember that your statement date is different from your due date. Your statement date is charges from your previous billing cycle, and your due date is when your actual payment now is due. These are not going to be the same date, so you just want to pay attention to your due date, and just remember that the credit card companies are looking at your statement date. Like in that last statement date, did you make a good payment? Was the payment correct? And are you going to pay this one now? They just really want to make sure that your funds are going to actually cover the loan that you requested. No, I already said that part. Okay, amounts owed. This is the most important category, especially for your FICO score. This includes the total number of your outstanding balances. So you really have to be careful of your credit utilization ratio. So it is your total debt over your total credit. And that's going to be your credit ratio. And you want to keep that under 30%. So if you'll look at this, your total debt, your total credit debt is every credit card that you have, period. And what do you owe on it? So on this credit card, you owe like $50. On that card, you owe like 60. On this one, you owe like 255. And that's added all together is your total credit debt. Your total credit period is the max limit of all those cards added up together. So that debt over that credit creates your credit utilization rate. And you want to keep that under 30%, i.e., do not max out your credit cards. There is no quicker way to mess up your credit score by maxing out a credit card. So for this person, this person has 3,350. All the credit cards added together with a total of 53,400. They're only using 6% of the credit card utilization ratio, and that is absolutely perfect. Keep it under 30%, as lower the better, and you'll be all set. Next up is the length of your credit history. Oop, wrong press. So they want to know how long you had a credit card, rapid buildup, like just constantly getting like random new credit cards is not going to do you any good because it's going to look suspicious. So don't open a whole bunch of new credit cards for no reason. Like, oh, hey, she just opened up 5 new credits. Like, yeah, this is going to increase your credit ratio, but because you did it so soon, it's going to look suspicious. Like, oh, it just looks like she's doing this so she can get out of debt. And so now you don't look like such a smart shopper. And so please also, here we go. Please make sure to not close unused credit cards as a short-term strategy. Especially if you've used it a lot, you have a lot of credit and a lot of data in that file. So by deleting and closing that, you just kind of messed up and lower your credit score. And if you do too many at once, that's also going to look suspicious and also mess up your credit score. So you got to be very wise about accounts you close. All right. And the 10% of new credit. It's getting more simple than that. How many new credit cards do you have? How many new accounts did you open? And of course, opening too many new accounts too soon is also going to look suspicious and mess up your credit score. So please be careful of that one. And types of credit used. Do you apply and open new only credit cards as needed? Only use your necessary credit to try. Don't use unnecessary credit to try and build your credit score. And, use your credit cards responsibly, i.e., do not get a credit card just to pay off a credit card and then max out that credit card and then get a new credit card to pay off the credit card for the credit card. It's a loop. They're going to follow the trail and notice. So let's not do that. Credit maintenance. As I said before, don't go into debt to build credit. Try to avoid becoming overextended because that's just going to lower your credit score. Avoid excessive accounts. Having too much credit available is going to be a concern to most lenders. And sadly, there's no quick fix to a credit score. Our pastor took over a year for him to get to where he was. Yes, went up a good chunk of points, but a year is still long. It's still going to take time, especially if you filed for foreclosures or bankruptcies or certain delinquent accounts. You've been delinquent for too long. It's going to take a moment to build. So you're going to have to be patient and budget, and be responsible with the funds that go in your pocket. So bad credit will cost you, literally. So, for example, let's say you're ready to get a car and you have good credit. Congratulations. So let's say that the car costs about $15,000. And for a long term, for 60 months, you're going to get charged 7% because that's what the good loan company said. You said you have good credit score, we'll do that. So you're looking at $297 a month. That all together, 297 times the 60, looking at $17,821. So a little extra than the car's worth, but because you have good credit, it's not that big a deal. However, let's try that scenario again with bad credit history. So same $15,000 car, but this time, because you haven't proven of your good credit, now it's 17% for 60 months. You're looking at $372 a month because they don't know how well you can pay it back. So now you're going to get charged in interest. So that altogether, now this $15,000 car is now going to cost you $22,000. That's a big chunk of money. We're going to do the same thing as if you're trying to get a mortgage. Let's say to pay it off is going to cost $200,000. You're going to do 360 months at 6% with good credit. You're looking at pretty much $1,200 a month. And that altogether, now the house is going to cost $419. Still pretty expensive, but if you don't have a good credit, it's going to cost extensively more. Now you're looking at almost a $1,500 a month, all because your credit score was too low and your interest just went sky high. So you do have to get a credit card at some point, but when you finally do get that card, you need to think before you buy. And I would highly suggest you ask yourself the following questions before you swipe that credit card. 1, is this item worth going into debt for? Do you absolutely need this item? Is your whole world going to crash? Is it okay to go negative in your account and force yourself to pay this off if you do not get this item? 2, if you do not have the money this month, how are you going to be able to pay it off next month? Do you have the hours or the job or the funds to make installments that you so say you do? And if you do have to make installments, depending on what your budget is, are you going to be able to pay it off? Just something to wrap your head around. And the last one, is there interest in what you're going to pay for? Is it worth it? Is that interest really going to be worth it, or is it going to put you back into further debt, which you don't want to be in? You just need to make sure you rethink and just, budget, budget, budget. Know how much is going in your pocket. Know how much you're going to owe in bills. And one of the best ways to do for that is, well, there's always an app for that. I personally like to use the app. It's called Money Manager. It's this little red square that looks like a pig in it. You can put in the time you get paid. You can make sure you can subtract all through the rest of the month, because I get paid on the monthly. Whew, Lord. And you can go through the month and just see, like, this bill comes on this day, this bill's on this day. And so with this app, you can calculate how much you're going to have at the end of the month and how much you have around to mess with. And that really helps with your budget. Sister Angie Borton taught me about another app called Prism, Prism. And it's a lot more in-depth than the Money Manager app, where you can actually sign into your accounts and actually pay through the app, if you trust it. I did trust it. It was okay for me, but I like my original. If I make a routine, I'm a stickler. So it worked for me that well. But if that's something you need to do to help you budget, to figure out how much you're going to have in your pocket, because let's face it, you can't always go by your bank account. There's always going to be that fund. You're like, oh, I have like 200 in my bank account. I'm good. And then you forgot that you have 5 other bills coming. And then you go out to eat. And the next thing you know, you're negative. So try and budget so you can try and avoid all that one. And then I put this one in here because at first I thought it was silly, but I also have to remember that there are some folks who are not quite aware of minimum payments. So you have to be careful of that, because many people believe that, if I just pay the minimum payment, I'm fine, they can't get me. Minimum payments will get you out of collections, but if you have to get it paid within a certain amount of time, you're not going to get it paid off on time. You have to do the math yourself. So let's say, for example, with a Best Buy credit card, they say if you go through a year, it's a $450 computer. You have 12 months to pay it off, and there's not going to be any APR on it. You just have to pay it off when in there. So let's say the minimum payment is $25. Okay, well, 25 times the 12 months, that's 300. You still got 150 missing. So you don't pay that, your interest is through the roof, and now you're stuck trying to figure out how you're going to pay off that 150. So, figure it out and do it yourself. So if you do the 450 divided by the 12 months, you're looking at $37.50 a month. So you want to pay minimum $37.50 to make sure you pay it off on time. If you want to pay it off early, plan to pay a little bit over. So instead of the 37, pay 40, pay 45. It may be a few extra dollars, but this will help you to pay it off early. And that's what we're looking for. And that's what we need, to pay off bills early to get our credit score up. Love it. And here are a few. We're almost done. I'm almost out of here. I almost hit my 30-minute mark, which that's only how long I want to be on here, because it's Friday night. People got stuff they want to do, and I don't want to be here for too long. So a few tips in picking a credit card, because eventually you will have to get a credit card. And I wish I had known some of this stuff while I was young and dumb and in college, because anytime I told my grandma or anyone else, like, I'm thinking about getting a credit card. Don't you do that. Credit cards are evil and this, that. It's like, and credit cards can be pretty scary. You just have to be responsible and understand them. So before you get a credit card, know your spending habits. Are you going to be able to pay off the card each month? If so, then maybe you don't have to worry about interest. Are you going to carry a balance? If so, then you need to figure out the lowest interest possible to help you pay it off. And if your card is a go-to, i.e. you're going to be using it like on the daily, then what are you going to be using it the most for? Are you going to be using it just for gas? Are you going to be using it just for groceries? Then try and get a credit card that's going to be based around that. Look at the interest rate. And this is where your APR, your annual percentage rate comes up. You can either get fixed APR or a fixed rate, or just a fixed APR. Same thing. Lord have mercy. Anyway, this rate does not change throughout the year, unlike the introductory APR that changes after a specific time period. And that is where those your pre-approved letters come from. Hey, introductory APR of, this percentage. And then you see that little asterisk by the number. Well, if you flip that sheet over and look down by it, you'll see that after a certain amount of time, like usually after a year or two, that APR goes through the roof. So yeah, for the first year or so, you're great. You were looking fine. But now that it's over and you still owe on it, now you're kind of hurting yourself trying to make the payment. So be careful of those pre-approved cards. Just read the fine print. And through the fixed rate or the fixed APR, you'll always know your month-to-month interest rate. The variable interest rate for a credit card, avoid it like the plague. This one goes up and down depending on prime rate, which is basically the use for only banks, and it just constantly changes like Wall Street. So it's not for us folks. You want to go to fixed APR or none. If there's 0% APR, my goodness, go for it. Credit card limit. Know your max credit card limit. It could be a few hundreds, it could be a few thousands, maybe it's only 500, maybe it's 17,000. Just know your credit card limit because you don't want to go over it, and there can be penalties for maxing out your credit card. And as I said before earlier in the presentation, max out your credit card looks very bad on your credit score because now you look financially irresponsible. So make sure you keep track of that. When you get a card, are there fees and penalties? Research. If there are fees and penalties, what are they on? Are you going to get in trouble for doing a balance transfer? Are you going to get money for getting cash out of the account? Is there a fee for increasing the limit, which most usually do? Is there a fee on late payment? If so, how much? Are you going to be able to cover it? Is there a fee for making payment over the phone? Yes, I have met a credit card company that pays you for the convenience of calling them over the phone. I had a friend who got into that trouble, and she's just like, I didn't know that. But if she had checked the sheets of her agreement, it was probably in the fine print, but she didn't notice. So that's what we have to research. Just look for cars with reasonable fees that you know are in your spending, that are in your budget. And as usual, look for 0% interest. Nothing beats zero. Free. I love it. And then use your balance computation method. Figure out your financial charge. More than anything, just what I'm trying to come down is figure out your billing cycle. Most credit card companies have one billing cycle, and it's usually within 20 to 45 days, and that's great. Just figure out your monthly payment and make sure you have the funds for it then. Just be careful not to get a bi-weekly billing cycle, because that means you're going to get charged twice as much with possible twice as much interest, and that's not going to be helping anybody. And then if you use a credit card and you can pay it off, look for incentives, aka rewards programs. So let's say you're going to be good with it. Do you get perks for it? So if you use it just for gas, will you get perks if you just use a certain gas company? After so many transactions, what can you use the reward points for? Can you use it for like funds in your pocket? Can you use it for credit cards? Can you use it for certain going out to eat somewhere? Like if you're going to use a credit card and you're going to pay it off, you might as well reap the rewards for it too. You know what I'm saying? Just make sure you pay attention to those rewards and make sure you see if they expire or not. Because there's nothing worse than stacking up all these rewards, they expire and disappear, and you just paid all these bills for nothing. You don't even get to reap the benefits. All right, I am now down to my last slide, and I want you guys to take away with the following notes. Check your credit score often. See how you're doing. If you seem to be doing rough or if it doesn't seem to be rising, double check to see what you're doing. Debt. Never go into debt trying to cover your credit score. It defeats the whole purpose. Budget. Know when your bills are due, pay them on time, and then you'll be all set. Aim for 720 if you can. Of course, you can always aim for 800, but 720 is when a lot of doors really seem to open. I see a lot of folks with the minimum like 650 for a lot of companies really seems to be really decent, but you really want to try and aim for 720 if you can. You remember that you can get a free report for Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. You can do it once a year. You can get it from them individually, so take advantage of that because, free. And then refrain from opening too many accounts too soon because, again, it's going to look suspicious. So that's it. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope this all helps you back into, I just hope this gets you to a place of good financial stability and helps you on your road to a better credit score recovery. A better credit scored recovery. You all have the ability to do this. I know you can. Budget. Make sure you keep track of your funds. And I'm just happy you could be here to join me. Thank you so much for giving me your time and attention on a Friday night. And I hope you have the rest of your day. And as my pastor would say, I love you, but more importantly, God loves you. In Jesus' name, stay safe. And thank you so much for being here today.